All right, let's take a look at example number 2. Are the polygons similar? Here we have figure CROW or crow, and we have figure BIKE or bike. And so we want to know if quadrilateral crow is similar to quadrilateral bike. Well, the first thing we have to remember is that every quadrilateral has 360 degrees in it. So four-sided figure, that has 360 degrees. Now we need to compare our angles. So we're going to work in crow first because we only have the measure of one angle in crow and one angle in bike, and they are not corresponding angles. Angle C corresponds to angle B, and angle W corresponds to angle E. Therefore, we have to go back to what we know about the number of degrees that are in quadrilateral crow and figure out what angle C would be and figure out what angle E would be in bike. All right, so let's go to quadrilateral crow. We know that opposite angles are congruent in a quadrilateral. So that means that angle W is congruent to angle R, which means they're both equal to 40 degrees. We also know that angle C is congruent to angle O, and therefore we can say that 360 degrees subtract 2 of 40 degrees, which gives us 80. And then if we take that number and divide it by 2, we will get the measure of angle C and angle O. In our case, that would be 140 degrees. Now, we need to do the same thing with our second quadrilateral bike. So now we're in quadrilateral bike. Once again, we have 360 degrees. Once again, we have opposite angles are congruent. Therefore, we know that angle B is congruent to angle K is equal to 130 degrees. Now we need to find out how many degrees there are in angle E or angle I. We know that angle E is equal to angle I because they're opposite each other. So if we take 360 degrees, subtract angle B and angle K, which would give us 260 degrees, and then divide that number by 2, we would get the measure of angle E and therefore the measure of angle I, which is 50 degrees. Now we need to take a look at our corresponding angles. So we know that angle C is equal to 140 degrees, and angle B is equal to 130 degrees. So we know that angle C is not congruent to angle B. We know that angle R is 40 degrees. We know that angle I is 50 degrees. So now we know that angle R is not equal to angle I. So it will follow that angle O is not equal to angle K because C and O are the same size and B and K are the same size. Angle W is not congruent to angle E because we know that angle W is 40 and angle E is 50. Therefore, quadrilateral crow is not similar to quadrilateral bike. Now take note of how we say not similar. So we use Mr. Squiggle with a line through him to show that these two figures are not similar. All right, so what did we do? Well, we went back and remembered that a quadrilateral contains 360 degrees. We had to also know that opposite angles in quadrilaterals are congruent. And with those two pieces of information, we were able to find our missing angles. And we were able to show that corresponding angles are not congruent. And therefore, these two polygons, crow and bike, are not similar.